So I decided to watch Making a Murder for this week's video. I've actually watched all the episodes, and season 2 just came out on Netflix on Fridays, so I've been watching that all weekend. But I did go back and I did watch the episode 8, I believe it was, in the first season, and it shows the closing arguments from both sides, so the prosecution and the defense. I decided to go with the prosecution side to talk about. Did the speaker have credibility or ethos? Yes. The speaker's character, you can tell, is very hardworking, very determined, and they're trying to find justice for Teresa Halbach that was murdered, and Ken Kratz wants to bring justice for her and her family that is obviously going through a difficult time losing their daughter. Ken Kratz is arguing plausible facts to sway the jury to believe that Steven Avery did indeed kill Teresa. So you can just tell by watching his closing arguments, he's really prying and planting and drilling in the jury's head that yes, he did this, and the evidence against him is substantial. The prosecution also appeals to the emotions of the jury by emphasizing that Teresa was young, she had her whole life in front of her, and that was taken away by Steven Avery. She didn't get married, she didn't get to have kids, she didn't get to live her life to the fullest because it was taken away at such a young age. So that, in a way, really can tug at jury's heartstrings and can sway them to the prosecution side than the defense side. When it comes to the logical side, Ken Kratz argues over and over again how unethical it would be for law enforcement officers to plant and frame someone for a crime they didn't do. Why would someone that is an officer who has been in law enforcement for years, who has given their life and time, what would make someone think that's something okay to do? You know, these law enforcement officers are people you should trust. You should feel protected. So why would they want to put someone in jail for something they didn't do? So that's what the prosecution argues also in their closing arguments. That also can make a jury think, that's true. Why would they do something like that? Like, that's not what a police officer should do. So that also kind of benefits the prosecution side in a way. So the writer and the producer, I believe, of this episode really has a desired purpose of a message that they're trying to convey with all the information being presented. They're trying to persuade, okay, do you believe Steven Avery did this, or do you believe he didn't do it? It influences your attitude towards the show and your beliefs, either towards law enforcement or the criminal, the justice system in general. It really, 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 honestly, I find, tugs at your heartstrings. It can make you mad, it can make you sad. So I find the production and how they wrote this episode, it's frustrating for me. I was very frustrated watching it, and I think that's really their purpose behind this episode. So a TV show character that I find I identify to is Frankie from Wentworth. Frankie's attributes are hardworking, she's determined, she's also really blunt, and I find I'm a very blunt person. I don't take crap, and she doesn't either, so I relate to her in that way. In the same show, the values of Wentworth, I find, is about friendship and justice. It might not be the most ideal situation since it is a prison show, but if you're in prison, you have to make the best of your situation and make friends just to get through, obviously, the tough time that you are going through. And then justice, it also shows that you are responsible for your actions, and if you decide to do something idiotic, then there are consequences for that. So it shows both sides of friendship and justice. I identify a very popular show with a large fan base. I found Supernatural. I love the show, but I find their fan base is absolutely huge. Like, they have social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and so I decided to look at Twitter, and I just typed in Supernatural in the search bar, and the first 10 suggestions were like the main Supernatural page for the show, and then the other 9 were all fan base, like fandoms, and people were just talking about the shows, the characters, and like what's gonna happen, what they think. So that was crazy. Another extreme thing I found is these conventions they do, and a lot of other shows, popular shows that we know, don't really do these conventions, but Supernatural does, and these actors and actresses go and they meet with their fans, they sign autographs, they talk, they do like live speaking, all this crazy stuff. But then I realized it's not just a one convention thing. They literally tour like they're a band, which is crazy because what other shows do you really hear do that? And they travel all over the US and even Canada. A popular phrase or symbol that has gone viral, I personally think the term or the phrase idiots from Supernatural is something that's gone viral. Instead of idiot, it's like you idiots, like you dummies. That's, I find, a lot of people use even if they don't watch this show. So yeah.